Somewhere inside a quiet building in London, behind a pane of glass, there's a costume that hasn't been worn in 7 years. It's not flashy under museum lighting. It doesn't move, doesn't sparkle under stage spotlights anymore, doesn't have fireworks behind it or 90,000 voices screaming its owner's name. And yet, the moment photos of this exhibit started circulating online this week, army around the world stopped scrolling. Because this isn't just fabric and thread hanging on a mannequin. This is a piece of history. And at the center of the conversation, once again, is Jimin. If you're new here, stay with me for the next few minutes, because I'm about to walk you through exactly why a 7-year-old stage costume is trending in 2026, why it's tied directly to one of the most iconic solo moments in BTS history, and why the timing of this exhibit is honestly kind of poetic. And if you've been in ARMY since the beginning, you already know where this story starts. It starts in London. It starts at Wembley Stadium. And it starts with a bubble that almost ruined everything, until Jimin turned it into one of the most talked about moments of his career. Let's rewind to June 2019. BTS had just wrapped up the Love Yourself World Tour, and instead of slowing down, they announced something bigger, a stadium extension called Speak Yourself. It was supposed to be the victory lap, bigger venues, bigger production, bigger everything. And one of the stops on that tour was Wembley Stadium in London, a venue so legendary that just saying its name gives you chills if you know anything about music history. This is a stadium where Queen played one of the greatest live sets of all time. This is a stadium where Live Aid happened. This is a stadium reserved for artists who have truly, undeniably made it. And in 2019, 7 boys from South Korea walked onto that stage and became the first Korean act in history to headline it. Let that sink in for a second. Not the first K-pop act. Not the first Asian act in a certain genre. The first Korean act, period, to headline Wembley Stadium. Tickets for that show sold out in 90 minutes. 90 minutes for a stadium that holds over 90,000 people. That's not just a fan base showing up. That's a cultural moment happening in real time. And most of the world outside the fandom didn't even realize it was happening until it already had. Now, here's where it gets personal, because this tour wasn't just about spectacle. It was about giving each member a moment that was entirely their own. A solo stage, a solo story, no bandmate sharing the spotlight. And for Jimin, that stage belonged to a song called Serendipity. If you've never seen the Serendipity performance, picture this. Soft lighting, a dreamlike set, and Jimin appearing inside what looks like a giant snow globe, a translucent bubble sitting center stage, like something out of a fairy tale. He's inside it, poised, almost frozen in place, like a porcelain doll waiting to be brought to life. And then, right on cue, the bubble is supposed to pop open, and Jimin steps out and glides into the rest of the performance. It's delicate. It's theatrical. It's the kind of stage design that takes months of engineering to get exactly right, because if it doesn't work, there's no backup plan. You can't just pause a stadium show and try again. And on the first night at Wembley, that's exactly what almost happened. The bubble didn't pop. Picture the panic that could have set in. 90,000 people watching, cameras rolling, an entire arena holding its breath for that one visual moment, and the mechanism simply doesn't cooperate. For most performers, that's the kind of malfunction that could throw off an entire set. Confidence rattled, timing thrown off, maybe even visible frustration on stage. But that's not what happened with Jimin. Staff rushed in to clear the deflated bubble, and instead of freezing up or looking rattled, Jimin kept his composure completely. Years later, in the official concert film released for that tour, Jimin actually opened up about what was going through his mind in that exact moment. He said he didn't panic. Instead, his brain immediately jumped to problem-solving mode, thinking about how to get out of the bubble in a way that would still look good for the fans watching. Not how to save himself from embarrassment. How to make sure the people who paid to be there still got a performance worth remembering. That's the detail that stuck with fans for years. It's such a small thing on paper, a technical glitch, quickly fixed, barely a footnote in a 2-hour show. But it revealed something about who Jimin is as a performer. Under pressure, in front of the biggest stage of his career at that point, his first instinct wasn't self-protection. It was making sure the audience's experience stayed intact. He trusted the people around him to fix the problem, and he focused on what he could control, staying present, staying graceful, staying in character until the moment resolved itself. Now fast forward 7 years. It's July 2026. BTS just wrapped their first ever concerts in Belgium, playing to sold-out crowds in Brussels as part of their massive Arirang World Tour. And if you've been following the news this week, you already know that Brussels gave us another moment that felt eerily familiar. During the second night of the show, Jimin noticed something the rest of the stadium hadn't caught yet: a fan in the crowd who appeared to be in distress. Without hesitation, he stopped what he was doing, pointed staff toward the exact location, and stayed locked in on the situation until help arrived and the fan was safely taken care of. RM stepped in too, reminding the crowd to stay hydrated and look out for each other. The whole group waited. They didn't rush the moment. They made sure it was handled properly before the show continued. Do you see the pattern forming here? 7 years apart, two completely different situations. One a stage malfunction, one a real emergency involving a fan's safety, and in both cases, the same instinct kicks in. Stay calm, assess the situation, prioritize the people in front of you over your own comfort or the pressure of the moment. That's not a coincidence, and that's exactly why this Wembley costume exhibit landed the way it did this week. It's not just nostalgia, it's a reminder of a consistency in character that spans an entire career. So here's the actual news, because I promised you facts, not just feelings. This week, as part of the citywide celebration called BTS The City London, the Korean Cultural Centre UK opened an exhibition running from July 4th through July 10th, featuring a showcase of BTS's iconic stage outfits from that historic 2019 Wembley run. This is happening right alongside the group's return to London for the Arirang World Tour, with two massive shows scheduled at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on July 6th and July 7th. The exhibit isn't the concert itself, it's something almost more intimate. It's a chance for fans walking through London this week to physically stand in front of the artifacts of that legendary night, years before most of today's newer army even knew who BTS was. And that's part of what makes this whole moment hit differently. Back in 2019, Wembley was a milestone. It was proof that BTS had truly broken into the Western mainstream in a way that felt undeniable. But in 2026, after years of military service, solo projects, and a comeback that's already shattering box office and touring records, walking back into London and having that history literally displayed in a gallery feels like a full-circle moment. It's not just BTS returning to a stadium. It's BTS returning to the exact city where they made history, while simultaneously being reminded, publicly, visually, of just how far they've come since. Think about everything that's happened between that Wembley stage and this week's headlines. Jimin has become a global fashion ambassador, walking runway shows for major luxury houses. He's released solo music that's charted internationally. He's completed his mandatory military service, something that could have paused momentum entirely for a lesser group, and instead came back into a tour that is currently breaking Billboard box score records that used to belong to legends like the Rolling Stones. The Arirang World Tour just posted the biggest monthly gross by a group in the history of Billboard's tracking, surpassing 7 years of untouched data. 7 years. The same number of years since that Wembley stage. It's hard not to notice the symmetry, and that's exactly why this exhibit isn't just a random costume display tucked away in a cultural center. It's being talked about because it's forcing fans to sit with the timeline, to remember where Jimin was standing in 2019, inside a bubble that wouldn't cooperate, staying composed under the brightest lights of his career up to that point, and to compare it to where he's standing now, in a stadium tour that's rewriting music industry history, still handling pressure with that same calm, grounded presence. If you're watching this and you're newer to the fandom, maybe you discovered BTS through the comeback, through Arirang, through Come Over hitting the charts, through the viral Brussels moment this past week. If that's you, I want you to actually go back and watch the serendipity performance from Wembley in full. Not a clip, not a compilation. The whole thing, start to finish, including that malfunction moment if you can find footage of it. Because understanding that moment gives you a completely different lens for understanding who Jimin is as an artist and as a person. This isn't a persona built for cameras. This is a pattern of behavior that's been consistent for the better part of a decade, whether the whole world is watching or whether it's just staff members backstage who see it happen. Now, let's talk about why this particular week matters so much for London specifically, because the exhibit isn't happening in isolation. BTS The City London is a full citywide celebration, running alongside the concerts, transforming parts of the city into fan-friendly spaces the same way similar events did in Seoul, Las Vegas, and Busan before this. There are collaborations happening at Westfield London, special retail activations, and community-based programming designed to give fans an entire week of connection, not just 2 nights inside a stadium. The Korean Cultural Center exhibit is one piece of that larger puzzle, but it's arguably the piece carrying the most emotional weight because it's directly tied to the group's history in this specific city rather than being a generic pop-up experience. And here's something worth sitting with for a second. Sold-out stadium shows are temporary. They happen, the lights go down, everyone goes home, and the memory lives mostly in phone footage and fan cams. But an exhibit, something you can walk up to, stand in front of, look at from every angle, that creates a different kind of memory. It's tangible. It's permanent, at least for the run of the show. Fans who maybe couldn't get tickets to the Tottenham Hotspur shows this weekend can still walk into that cultural center and stand a few feet away from something Jimin actually wore on one of the most significant nights of his career. That accessibility matters. It's democratizing a piece of history that used to only exist behind concert ticket paywalls. So let's bring this back to the big question I opened with. Why is Jimin the one getting singled out from this exhibit when it technically showcases outfits from the entire group? Part of it is simple math. Jimin has one of the most devoted, most engaged fan bases within the larger ARMY community, and any piece of content connected to him tends to spread faster and further. But I don't think that's the whole story here. I think it's because the Serendipity performance specifically represents something that fans still talk about, years later, completely unprompted. It's not just remembered because it was pretty to look at. It's remembered because of what happened when it didn't go according to plan, and how Jimin handled it. That's a much stickier kind of memory than choreography or costume design alone. People forget perfect performances. They remember grace under pressure. And if you zoom out even further, this ties into something bigger about how BTS has managed to stay relevant for over a decade in an industry that chews up and discards trends within months. It's not just the music, although the music clearly still works. Just look at Arirang topping charts and breaking touring records this year. It's not just the choreography, although that's still some of the tightest in the industry. It's moments like this, moments that get archived, revisited, and recontextualized years later because they reveal something true about the people behind the performance. A bubble malfunctioning at Wembley in 2019 and a fan needing help in Brussels in 2026 have nothing obviously in common on the surface. But underneath, they're the same story. Someone staying calm when things go sideways, and choosing to prioritize the experience and safety of the people around them over their own comfort. If this video is doing what I hope it's doing, you're probably sitting there right now connecting even more dots than the ones I just laid out. Maybe you're thinking about other moments across the years where Jimin's done something similar, on stage, backstage, in interviews, and fan interactions. That's exactly the kind of conversation I want to see in the comments below. Drop your favorite Jimin moment, whether it's from 2019, from this current Arirang tour, or from somewhere in between. I read every single comment, and honestly, some of the best stories I've featured in past videos came directly from things you all share down there. Before I wrap this up, let's quickly recap the actual timeline of events so you walk away from this video with the facts straight, because I know some of you are going to want to share this with friends who aren't as deep into the fandom as we are. In June 2019, BTS became the first Korean act to headline Wembley Stadium, selling out the show in 90 minutes as part of the Love Yourself, Speak Yourself tour. During that show, Jimin performed his solo stage for Serendipity, featuring an elaborate bubble stage effect that malfunctioned on the first night. He handled it with composure, later explaining in the official tour documentary that his focus in that moment was ensuring the performance still looked good for the fans watching, rather than panicking about the mistake itself. 7 years later, in July 2026, BTS returned to London as part of the Arirang World Tour, performing at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on July 6th and 7th. Alongside the concerts, BTS The City London launched a week of citywide fan activities from July 4th through July 10th, including an exhibition at the Korean Cultural Center UK, showcasing the group's iconic stage outfits from that historic 2019 Wembley run. The timing of this exhibit, landing in the same week as a viral moment from Brussels, where Jimin paused a concert to help a distressed fan, created an unexpected but powerful parallel that fans immediately picked up on. That's the story. That's why a costume from 2019 is trending in 2026. It's not just fashion. It's not just nostalgia bait. It's a reminder that some things about a person don't change, even when everything else around them does. The venues get bigger, the stakes get higher, the global spotlight gets brighter, but the instinct to stay grounded and put others first seems to remain exactly the same. If you enjoyed this deep dive, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, because I'm covering every single stop of this era-rang tour as it happens, and there is clearly a lot more history being made in real time that we're going to want to look back on someday, the same way we're looking back on Wembley right now. Give this video a thumbs up if you learned something new about the Serendipity performance. Drop a comment telling me which BTS era or moment you'd want to see explored next. And if you know someone who still doesn't understand why this fandom holds onto memories this tightly, send them this video. Sometimes the best way to explain it isn't with words, it's with a story like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.